I'm in my own little physical and algorithmic bubble, and there may be lots of really talented people out there that I don't know about yet. Welcome back to Artfully Crafted. My name is Alienor, and each week I travel to a craftsperson's studio, interview them and show you their work. Except for this week, I thought it was about time that I share more about how I curate the program of interviews for Artfully Crafted. Now, a few weeks ago, I shared a video with you which was all about spelling out my personal mission to you. And it's to promote, enable and support crafts. I then shared another video that was all about my professional path up till now and how that path has really nurtured my desire to learn more about decorative arts. So this week I really want to hone in on the sort of guiding principle for this project, and to me it's kind of really like a research and educational project at this point. I think this video will share more of why that is. So I want to share the guiding principle or topic. I want to kind of share my approach, and then I also want to share the sort of limitations to this project. So my overall guiding principle is I want to really look at crafts in the context of decorative arts and crafts that are particularly relevant to interior design. So although this channel focuses on crafts, it doesn't focus on all crafts. And the reason why that is because I want it to have a real focus, and a focus that is relevant to my own work. It needs to make sense of me as the producer and presenter. So therefore, the crafts that we're looking for are very much linked to interior design and decorative arts. They need to be the sort of crafts that I could use in any of my projects. And then the specific lens that I'm looking for is I want something historicist. And by that I mean I either want a really traditional sort of heritage crafts, or I want someone who is taking inspiration from historic design, or maybe looking at historic uses of their material and then innovating with their own use of it. So good examples of this are Simon Smith, who's a traditional stone carver and very much uses the traditional methods of hand drawing and then chisel, mallet, and kind of has a very traditional approach to stone carving. So that's one end of it with this sort of heritage crafts lens. At the other end is Tessa Silver, who, although she creates very contemporary milk sculptures, she is taking inspiration from Tudor chalk and sour milk floors. It's a very sort of like niche field, and she's taken inspiration from it. She's also using traditional stitching methods, and she's really studying those sort of heritage methods, those historic designs, looking at history of different usage, and then she's pulling all of that together and then interpreting it for her own work and innovating in her own way. So that kind of gives you like a full spectrum of what I would be looking for, and then you would sort of have, you know, people kind of sitting in the middle of that. For the next section, I thought I would share the kind of full list of disciplines that I currently have. And the reason why I also want to do that is because there might be disciplines that I have overlooked and that you think would be relevant. And so if you have such a discipline to recommend, please do so in the comments. I'm totally open to your recommendations. So here we go for the disciplines. So things that we've already featured: ceramics, stone carving, wood carving, embroidery, silversmithing, decorative painting, drawing. Other ones which I think are already sort of in the works: passementerie, cabinet making, furniture making, lacquer, gilding, plaster and stained glass. And I really want you to think of the kind of crafts that you would see walking into a historic home, or maybe a church or another kind of very old interior, the sort of crafts that you would see sort of dotted around. So weaving, pargeting, lettering, mosaic, marquetry, metalwork, joinery, and then even some really niche ones like enameling, iglomise, pietrodura, glass blowing, screen printing, printmaking, taxidermy. So there you are. I think that's pretty much my full list. But if you have any recommendations, and that could be just a craft that you thought of, or if something really specific, you know, if you have a craft in mind and you know somebody who practices that craft in the UK, please let me know in the comments below. I would really, really appreciate it. And then basically the thing to think about for the sort of overall narrative of the channel is that within each of these disciplines, I'm looking to build up the narrative and a full picture of that craft over time. So at the starting point, I want to interview different people within that discipline that are going to give us different perspectives, that are going to be covering different themes, that have a different setup, and maybe that have a range of affiliations. And then over time, I want to build up that discipline and hopefully work our way up to featuring a full business, so that you can also see a scale of practices. And then ideally, I then also want to feature a school that teaches that discipline and also show it to you in context through visiting an interior. Some examples of that in practice, ceramics I think is probably our easiest example. We've covered that a fair amount already, but I hope that you can see, you know, we started with Lily Permain, who talked a lot about wood firing. Then we interviewed Chris Keenan, who focused really on throwing. Then we featured Nicholas Lees, who talked about lathe turning, and then Giuseppe Parinello, who focused on mold making. And then in videos that are coming up, I really want to find people who specialize in inlay and in luster and in hand building. And then at some point, I would really love to also go into a studio where there's maybe multiple makers in one space and kind of see what it's like when it's been scaled up to business. So I'm really not looking to, at this stage, repeat any specialism. And that's, you know, the difficulty of curating this channel in a way, is that I don't want there to be too much repetition, and there are so many talented makers out there. So when I'm choosing someone, is that difficulty of I want a diversity in the theme of their work, in their approach to their work, in the specialization that they have. I want a diversity as well in their affiliations. I think one thing I should address at this point is, of course, I want to show a diversity in generation, in gender, and also in ethnicity. And that's really something that I've been struggling with. And so if you do know of someone in a discipline I haven't covered, who is from a different ethnic background to what you have seen on the channel so far, like, I am really keen to share, you know, and give a voice to people of different backgrounds, but I definitely have been struggling to find that. So yeah, I'm aware that's not a good thing about the channel, is predominantly a lot of the people that we've been showcasing are white. I don't know, I'm sort of very much at a stage where I'm discovering this landscape, and I think through trying to curate a diversity of voices for this channel, it's made me become way more aware of the gaps in that population. So yeah, I open it up to you guys. If you can help me out, I would really, really love it. Going back to the theme of building up the narrative within each discipline, what I've started doing on Artfully Crafted is to actually create playlists, because I thought these would be really, really helpful. For example, if you want to know all about metalwork, for me to sort of gather all of the videos on that topic in one place so that you can easily find them. And then also, I think some themes will start emerging that are actually cross-discipline. So I've created a playlist called Architecture, and on there you'll find Vicky Ambry-Smith's video. She's a silversmith but focuses on architecture. You'll find Minty Sainsbury, who draws but only buildings. So you start to also see sort of connections across disciplines. So I thought that would be quite a good way of sort of bringing those things up through the playlists and sort of really leverage the format of YouTube as much as we can. So really all of this is to take you on a learning journey about different disciplines within crafts, how they're practiced, and then seeing them in context. Last but not least, I did want to be, for the sake of being a little bit academic about this, I wanted to sort of full disclosure, sort of be honest about what I think are the limitations of this project. The first one, of course, is me. There's a sort of, bias to who I pick. Of course, I'm picking people who are, whose work is, work that I love and that is to my taste. So I guess the limitation there is my taste. The other limitation, of course, is this kind of who I come across and when. Because, of course, I'm based in London. And so a lot of the people I come across, it's, people I see at shows and fairs, but then also whatever the algorithm feeds me on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. So it's sort of, I'm in my own little physical and algorithmic bubble, and there may be lots of really talented people out there that I don't know about yet. And so as we go along, every time I interview someone, I do ask, is there anybody else within your crafts that you think would be good and would present a sort of different angle? So over time, I hope that I will also come across more people the more we go along. The other limitation on this is time and budget. So of course I'm releasing one episode a week, and actually this is proving quite difficult to do because I'm fitting doing this channel around my work as an interior designer. And so it's, it's a lot of time to travel up to people, spend the day with them, but beforehand there's all the sort of like planning stages, reaching out to people, sometimes even doing introductory calls, and then all of the post-production, the sort of like editing loop and feedback, and then actually promoting this on social media. So one a week is already a lot of work. So limited on time, and then budget, of course, because as I keep harping on about every week, this is self-funded, and I do really want to find, a sponsor, but I don't want to find just any sponsor. I would love to partner with like-minded organizations, or, at least someone who gets the project and is happy to support it, but doesn't want to shape it or change it. I don't want someone who's going to come along and say, oh yeah, but can you say it that way, or can you do it that way, or you have to feature this person. I think the whole point of this is that there's a sort of, this academic thread to it, and I don't want that to be disrupted. So yeah, I'd love to be able to turn this into a financially self-sustaining practice, but I don't want it to be at the cost of the sort of narrative that we have. And yeah, the last thing, as I previously mentioned, is the diversity. I think that is something that I am proactively looking for. But I think just because it is such a niche industry and it's so hard to get into, and, the people who choose to pursue this career, they do so out of passion. They don't earn a lot of money necessarily from it. It is very hard to make a living. And so I think there's a sort of, almost a self-selective process in this. And so it is making it really difficult to make sure that I'm featuring people from all walks of life. But I am doing my best, and I really hope that you'll help guide me in this. So yeah, thank you so much for joining along as I sort of take you through my approach to this channel and how I'm curating it. If you have any questions, anything that you would love to hear more about, maybe that you feel I sort of touched on briefly but could have gone into more detail, please leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer you. And once again, thank you so much for watching this channel. As I mentioned, it is self-funded, so please spread the word. Like, share, and subscribe. See you next week. So what I'm really looking for... blooper. Maybe. Otherwise it's just me looking to the side.